Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Welcome back to the Kiran Rai Show. I hope you guys have been keeping well and I hope you guys have been keeping safe. वैसे कहते हैं कि हम lockdown तो खोल ही जाना है, so we're not long to go before we get to see each other outdoors. But wait. ਅੱਜ ਦੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ topic ਅਸੀਂ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਨੀ ਹੈ, ਅਸੀਂ ਪਿਛਲੀ ਵੀਕ ਕਾਹਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਗੱਲ ਕੀਤੀ ਸੀ? ਅਸੀਂ ਕੀਤੀ ਸੀਗੀ about marriages. And ਅੱਜ ਵੀ ਉਸ topic ਬਾਰੇ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਕਿਹਾ ਸੀ ਕਿ we will talk further about that. So ਅੱਜ ਆਪਾਂ ਫਿਰ ਉਸ topic ਬਾਰੇ further, we're going to be talking further about that topic that we were speaking about last week. So ਆਪਾਂ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਸੀਗੇ what are the expectations of marriages, and you know what kind of marriages, what kind of do we think from marriages, what can we expect, and किन्नी कुछ ਅਸੀਂ सुनीदा from culture, from society. And on today's panel I have got my two guests, Cully and Kelly, with me, and I'm going to get them to do their introduction. So welcome back to the show, girls. Thank you so much for your time, and we'll get Cully to do her own introduction and Kelly to do her own.
Hi, my name's Cully. I'm from Coventry and I'm a makeup artist.
Hi, my name's Kelly. I'm also from Coventry.
So the question that I want to talk about first is, we hear so much, and we've spoke about even in the last episode that, about expectations, what to kind of have that mutual understanding between families, and, have that mutual understanding with our partners and in relationships and in marriages, even before you go into marriages. Now, the question that I actually have, and the one that I really wanted to talk about, is this relationship of, having that relationship with your in-laws and having that relationship with your mother-in-law. And this is really bad. And and that's quite bad. And I think we hear that from society. So we're going to talk about our own experiences. And the first question that I want to go to is to Kelly. Kelly, the relationship that you have with your in-law, especially your mother-in-law, what is that like, and how have you built that over time?
It's like any relationship, you've got to work at it, and it's hard work. So it's whatever, but you put into it, you get out. But it is a case of give and take. It's not just one way.
And Cully, what about you?
I think at the start it is difficult to call somebody out mum. And I found that really difficult when I got married. Even before marriage, I found it really difficult to sort of say to somebody else mum, because I only knew one mum. So I think that was the hardest part at the start. But I think, like Kelly said, it takes a lot of building, a lot of getting to know each other, spending time with each other, and actually having honest conversations. And as you would with anybody, when you're trying to get to know somebody, you start off by talking about your interests, what you like eating, what you like doing. Spending time with each other is really important, and communicating is really important. So I think my sort of journey was nice and smooth, because like I said in the previous show, that I was lucky enough to get to know my in-laws before I got married. So I gelled in that family before I got married. So it's now just a norm when I got married. The only difficult thing was just trying to call somebody else's mum. Sorry?
So how long have you been married for?
Oh, I've been married for 7 years now. So I got married quite young. I got married when I was 24. So for me, it was sort of like I felt like I was still finding my way as a person, but I just learned to adjust, and now I've got a great relationship. So yeah.
Is there anything that you think you would, what kind of things could you do at your parents' house that you can't do at your in-laws' house? Is there anything that's changed?
No? Yeah, I think for me, it was more of the case of like dress sense. So I know that in our culture, we're sort of like, oh no, you can't wear that because you're showing too much skin, or oh no, you can't do that at your in-laws because it's not right. So I think that was a big adjustment for me, was that I couldn't just lounge around in like my vest top, or I couldn't just do certain things that I do at home. Like I couldn't just sit there for hours on end and just be like, I'm not gonna, oh, I'll do that later, or oh mom, can you just do it for me and stuff. And I couldn't have that same attitude that I would have at home than I would at my in-laws' house. So I think that was a big adjustment for me.
What about you, Kelly?
I think for me it was slightly different because I didn't live with them when I got married. So as soon as we got married, we were living in our own place. And so, unlike you, Kelly, I was walking around in my vest top, my shorts, and in my dressing gown. So, yeah, it's slightly different. It's just, yeah. But equally, when I went there, I would dress appropriately. I would wear an Indian suit. So those things, yeah.
I think with from my experience, my personal experience, I think it's quite important for you to actually mix with your in-laws, because even though our parents do say ਕਿ ਸਿਆਣੇ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਕਿ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਜਦੋਂ ਨਾ ਜਦੋਂ ਕਿਤੇ ਵੀ ਰਿਸ਼ਤਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਆ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਬਹੁਤੇ ਘਰ ਨਹੀਂ ਜਾਈਦਾ ਹੈਗਾ, ਕਿ ਜੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਲੱਗ ਜਾਵੇ ਕੁੜੀ ਦੀ ਹੈਬਿਟ ਆ ਕਿ ਉਹ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ ਦੀ ਆ ਤਾਂ ਉਹ ਰਿਸ਼ਤਾ ਤੋੜ ਸਕਦੇ. It's not about that. It's more of an adjustment between yourselves. And with your in-laws, they need to also adjust to you, you need to adjust to them, and it's finding that balance in between. And I think it's really important. I think we do get a lot of big fears, and I know I will definitely have that fear when I get married. I will definitely have that fear that I don't know what my in-laws are going to be like. I hope they're okay. I hope they're going to be nice to me. And there's some of the things that Kelly and Cully have both said. They've both had different experiences, but the expectation of what that household is, and I think that fear that we have of पता नहीं उन्होंने किद्दां दे होना किद्दां दे नहीं, but it's also to go with an open mind and to say, actually, you make it as the best situation that you can. You find some in-laws that are with the mom and dad, you become their actual daughter, not their daughter-in-law. And whereas some in-laws can be very difficult, and it all depends on different people's perspectives, different people's upbringings and families, and also generations and age. So there's a lot of factors to put into it. And I know definitely for sure that, when I get married, one of the things that I can't definitely do is I can't just go off and just go on holiday by myself. I'm quite independent as a person. And I know when I'm independent as a person, I will definitely go out. If I want to go to London for the day, I'll go to London for the day. Or if I want to fly out to Paris and take myself on holiday, I will take myself out to Paris and I will treat myself. But that's because I have also relationship with myself. What most people do forget is when they get married, they forget that they also have a relationship. It's not just a relationship with your partner and your in-laws, but you're still that person that also has a relationship with yourself. And happiness doesn't come from making everyone else happy in your in-laws or making your other partner happy. You also have to take care of yourself, because if you don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of anyone else around you. You will be very miserable. And I know for sure that when I do get married, I can't actually go out and about wherever I want to go. I will, speak to my partner about it. And it's important to also have that time apart from each other. So when you come back, you're going to come back home to the same person. And it's important for that. Do you agree with that, Cully?
Yeah, I totally agree. I think before you got married, you were your own person. So why should you then be somebody different when you are married? So personally, like me and my partner, we do have, time apart, and we do have our own hobbies and interests that we spend with our friends or family or whatever.
Do you think?
I agree with what Kelly said. You are your own person, and you said that this is your fear before you get married. That, oh, I like to go off, Kiran, you like to go off and do your own thing. I think that you just need to communicate that to your partner, and he needs to understand that you need your space. And if that means going off for a weekend away, or a day away, or a few hours away, that's fine. And you are two individual people as well. as a couple, you're a unit, but you've got your own personality and your own likes and dislikes too. And like Kuli said, the same is in my marriage. My husband likes to do his hobbies and I like to do mine. Like, he's a massive football fan. He plays football and, he goes off and does those things. And equally, I like to go to the gym and do my gym classes and yoga and things like that. So you're two individuals as well as a unit. So you've got to do your own thing too to, keep going, because like you said, if you can't look after yourself, how are you going to look after each other? So even if that's like for you going off for an hour and reading a book and being by yourself, then you need to communicate that this is really important to me. I need to do this.
And I also think it's important for families to kind of accept that it's okay for the in-laws to kind of, for in-laws to be, and also for families that have got daughters, that you both need to understand and have that agreement for the families, for both of the kids to actually go into each other's houses, to understand each other's family, to create that bond between each other. And like Cully said earlier, she got married quite young, and when she got married, she's had to build that relationship with her family. कहते पर कई समझते नहीं हुंदे कई कहंदे ओ कुड़ी तो पहले बाहर फिर दिया तो एक तो फिरन वाली है, but it's not true. It's not the fact that because she just goes out a lot, a फिरन वाली है. That's just a thought that society builds together. And I think we have a lot of fears, especially when it comes to our in-laws, and a lot of families, and especially even our other halves. Some people don't accept the fact that, oh wait, it's not okay for you to just go by yourself and go out by yourself, or they find it weird. Why do you want to go to Paris for a weekend by yourself? Why would you not want to take me with me? And they find that weird. They don't accept it. But in actual fact, it's an actual part of you that you were doing before. So like you said, Cully, why should you change? And
Yeah.
where this fear that we actually have when it comes to where it's been our in-laws, our mother-in-law, or certain areas of we can go out with us by ourselves. Where does this fear actually come from? Kelly, I'm going to go and ask this question with you.
I think it's been installed in us, and previous generations, and growing up, that fear has been put into you. Your parents, your grandparents, the society, the culture. There was a time when these things were not acceptable, and it's exactly what you said, Kiran. If you were going on holiday by yourself, people would talk about you and say you're a bad girl. But now, girls do go away on holiday by themselves, and it's not an issue, it's not a problem. So it's just society, culture, previous generations, expectations. And you've got to remember, when our parents, grandparents came to this country, they brought their ethics, morals and culture with them. So, there's nothing wrong with that, but it's evolved and changed as well. And that's what you need to accept and adapt to.
So do you agree, and I'll ask Cully this question, so do you agree that the fear comes from society and culture, especially when it comes to our in-laws as well, like our mother-in-laws, because we also see that mother-in-law as almost like a monster-in-law. We kind of forget that we actually have a mum at home, and what our mum would, how, and if we've got brothers or siblings, we kind of think, oh, our mother's never going to treat our sister-in-law really badly, because in our eyes, our mum is almost like an angel, isn't it? But when it comes to someone
Yeah.
else's mum, we kind of think, oh my God, she's a monster-in-law. So do you think we get this fear from society? Where does it come from?
I agree with Kelly. I think it has come from society. It's even come from, like when we were talking about earlier, from films, other people's experiences. And I do think that the culture now has changed. It's evolved. It's not actually, it's not changed. It's just evolved, I think, because we still carry those cultures with us. We still respect our culture, but I just think that we're just evolving as a generation, and it's changing now. And nowadays it's like, so what, it's my mother-in-law, like, it's not an issue. She's not a monster. She's a human being. You just got to get to know that human being. So I think that's changed now a lot. And I think a lot of the younger generation are seeing that, and they're putting that into their marriages, and they're installing it into their brain that that's somebody else's mum. So no one would respect. You wouldn't like if somebody treated your mum like that. So you shouldn't treat your partner's mum like that. So that's how I've always seen it, is that just treat people the way you would want to be treated.
Yeah, I agree with that. And another thing that I want to bring to the surface is when we kind of get married, most people have this expectation of, oh God, I'm going to get married, and almost of a sudden I'm gonna have to start making babies, and is that the sort of idea that we have, like from culture and from society around us, that when we go in to marriage, we're expected to to have babies, and do we need to be like that, or do we just be ourselves? I mean, going back to you, Quilly, and Kelly, you've both had two different experiences. What was your experience like? When were you expected to kind of have, right, you're now married, so by a year or 2 years later, did you start getting questioned by in-laws? Oh, a baby anyway, problem? Yeah, do you kind of think that comes up the surface when it comes to marriage, especially within our culture?
I think within our culture, they do expect that. So a lot of the older generation, they always say like, "Oh, so you've been married for what is it now, 5 years, and you still not had a kid yet?" And
Yeah.
it's sort of like, you shouldn't put that pressure on anybody, regardless of what culture you're in or anything. Like that pressure shouldn't be on anybody about babies, because there's history behind that person. That person might not be able to conceive, or they might have had a bad experience, or it might be difficult for them. So I think nowadays society needs to understand just that other person might not be able to conceive, or they might not be ready in their life, or they decide not to have any children. They're just loving their married life as it is. So I think that nowadays it needs to evolve. That side of things do need to evolve. But yeah, I think the pressure does come from the older generation, that kind of installation in your brain that you fall in love, you get married, you have children, and you live happily ever after and go old, and that's it.
Ellie, what's your saying on this?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the pressure to get married by a certain age and have children is very anxious and stressful situation, and it's put on.
Yeah.
I find Indian females a lot anyway, because it's like a tick list in our culture, and you've got to get good grades, you've got to be a good person in our community and culture, and after you get the good grades, you've got to get a good job, and then you've got to get married, and then you've got to have a baby. So if you've done A, B, C, and you haven't reached this, why haven't you got married? Why isn't anyone marrying you? What's wrong? And then you've not had a baby, what's wrong? It's that expectation. And I think it's previous generations have done that. They've got married, they've got a house, and then they've got kids. So that pressure's then put onto the next generation to do that. But just because it was a pattern followed previously, it doesn't mean, like Kali said, that box fits for all. Some of us are just not ready for that stage, or some of us just don't want that stage. And unfortunately, the insensitivity of relatives and other family members can make you overlook this, and it's just don't seem to accept it's another way of living. Children aren't the be all and end all of everything. Children, a lot of people, I hear these words from people who have children, that children are selfish. If they could have their life again, they wouldn't have had children. So
Yeah,
it's
I agree with
individuals,
that.
and generations need to accept that, and a lot of people have faith in God, and they just want to put their faith in God, and whatever will be, will be.
And
Yeah.
that is also okay too. If you want to put your faith in God, and that's fine as well. I think what a lot of people do find is when they do kind of go into marriages, because they have this perception and this idea, this routine that's been following for so many generations, that actually, right, you're married now, so now you've got to, kind of adjust to the family, adjust to the husband, get a new routine, and your dreams and aspirations, let's forget about those, because now you need to look, and now you need to look forward to getting, having having kids and having a child. But actually, in fact, no, it doesn't need to be like that. You live your marriage and you live your life, with your partner on your own terms. You go and do it when you're ready. You don't actually just rush into anything, because that's not how a marriage works, and that's not how a team works. It's when you have, and when you have a child come into a relationship and come into a marriage, it's a beautiful thing, and it's symbolizing that actual relationship, with your other half, and that's how it should be seen across. And I think one of the other questions that makes me think of is, for especially for girls, and guys as well, because it's not just a girl getting married into a family, it's also a guy getting married as well, and it's about two families getting in, getting married together, because it's not just about two souls, it's about two families that come together. So do you think girls can still, go after their dreams, go after their ambitions? So if a girl wanted to be, let's say, a singer, or she was in the entertainment industry, is it still okay for that girl to go follow her dreams and be a singer once she's married? Because when she's married, she's still expected to travel. Or if she was a cabin crew hostess, is it okay to carry on doing her job? Does she then have to leave her actual job just because she's got a really good job and she's enjoyed it all her life, but now she's getting married, she has to kind of give up that? Is that kind of okay? Or, what kind of expectation do we have with that? Kelly, I'm going to ask you this question.
Thank you. I think I would say men don't walk away from their dreams, so why do women do it? Married or single, especially when you're married, why do you have to walk away from your dream? If your dream was to, buy a plot of land and build a house on it in the country and sell it, then do it. Why do you walk away from it just because you're married? You've got a ring on your finger and your titles change. You shouldn't walk away from your dreams. And I think it also depends on your partner, and your situation. Don't be afraid to pursue your dreams, but you need to have a supportive partner. And, if your partner is encouraging you and supporting you, it's really good and it's really helpful and you will achieve it. But, I think people have that perception that when you get married, the guy has these dreams and ambitions and the wife supports him. So why can't it be the other way around? And personally, I think if a man gets more powerful and successful in what he's doing, pursuing his dreams, then I think he's liked more. And if a woman gets more and more successful, she's less liked, because it
Yeah.
seems like the threat almost. And you gave the example, Kiran, of cabin crew. So, for example, if you're doing cabin crew before you got married and you meet someone, you say, look, I love my job. I do cabin crew. I love it. Every other week I'm flying off to a different country, but it means like for 1 week I'm away. And if that person accepts that and likes you, he should accept your job and your dream and your ambition too. He shouldn't, if he turns around and says to you, oh no, sorry, I think you're going to have to give up your job because that doesn't fit into my life or my family or my lifestyle, then maybe you need to reconsider that.
What about you, Quilly? What's your saying on this?
I totally agree. I think, like I said earlier, the person that you were before you got married shouldn't change when you get married. So, whether you're in cabin crew or, whether you want to be a singer or an actress or something out of the norm in our culture, then yeah, you should pursue that going forwards. That's your dream. You worked hard on that. So, you should have that freedom to be like, yeah, I'm going to pursue that. And that's probably a conversation that you need to have with your in-laws and your husband to be, before you get married, so that you lay everything on the table first, and you sort of say, this is what I want to do, this is my dreams and aspirations, and I am going to continue with those. So I hope that you can support me and follow it with me. You shouldn't change as a person, I think, personally.
So we've today ਆਪਾਂ ਕਿੰਨੀਆਂ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਕੀਤੀਆਂ about marriages and the expectations of in-laws, how it should be. Even we've touched base on having kids and dreams and aspirations. ਜਿੰਨੀਆਂ ਅੱਗੇ ਮੁੰਡੇ ਉਨੀ ਅੱਗੇ ਕੁੜੀਆਂ. So ਕੁੜੀਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਤਾਂ ਮੁੰਡਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ we've given the same sort of level of education, and same sort of rights to a woman and an education. Actual fact is, ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਅੱਜ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਇੱਕ ਗੱਲ ਦੱਸਾਂ. They say when you get married, you don't actually need to change your bylaw. You don't actually need to change your surname. I never knew this, but now I definitely know that I'm telling you. But yeah, you don't actually need to change your surname just because your partner's surname, and now that you're married and you've got this band on your finger. It's important that you have that balance, and you have that conversation with your partner and your in-laws before you go into anything. And yes, go out and go and see that family, meet that family, build that relationship with them, so they kind of understand you and you have that understanding with them. Kind of what to expect. So when you go into that household, everything's not so alienated. And for women and for men that are watching this show, I want you to take this away. Be proud of your other partner, of what they're doing. Be supportive, whether you're a guy, whether you're a girl. Be supportive of your other partner, because at the end of the day, you'll be proud. Not just you'll be proud of the person, what they're doing, but you'll also be proud thinking, that is my woman, or that is my man who's doing what they're doing. Be their backbone and everything, because without that, a relationship can't work. It works both ways. And leaving you with that, ਅਸੀਂ ਫਿਰ ਅਗਲੇ ਹਫਤੇ ਆਵਾਂਗੇ ਇੱਕ ਹੋਰ ਜਿਹੇ ਟੌਪਿਕ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ. But for now, thank you so much, Kuli and Kelly, for joining us. ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ, ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ.